and that every child graduates from high school prepared. So how are we going to get there? Next week, on Monday and Tuesday, we're actually sitting down with pre-K, K-12, post-secondary, higher ed, and business and industry with the purpose over a 2-day period to come up with a common definition of what a graduate is. Because right now, those 5 entities have 14,000 different definitions of what that looks like. But think how powerful we could be in this state if all those entities were working together around a common understanding about what the knowledge and skills of high school graduates need to look like. We can make a lot of difference there. Develop and adopt college and career-ready aligned standards in all of our core subjects. You know that we're implementing a new math course of study this year. Our special ed folks are doing the extended standards just like we've always done to make sure that our special needs students have the options they need. But I'm so excited about this new course of study because I think for special ed students, regardless of extended standards, this gives them a better playing field than our standards did previously because it requires application of what they know. That sometimes is the way that we know that kids understand what we've taught them. So one example is in 4th grade math. In the old standards it might say, do 2-digit addition and find the sum and do these 10 problems. And that was our measure. In the new standards it may say, given this real world situation, get together with 4 of your peers and determine the various ways you could solve this problem and the mathematics required to do it, and report out as a team to your classmates how you came up with that answer. I know that sounds like a huge stretch on what we're expecting of our kids, but the key word there is collective work. That's the way it works in the real world. Most people don't work as totally independent from one another. So that's the perfect place for special ed and regular ed and umpteen ed and purple ed to work together to come up with solutions. And at least in my experience as a classroom teacher and a principal, some of the best learning happens when peers are working with peers rather than the big guy in the front of the classroom trying to tell them what they need to know. So that's going to be a big shift for us. Create and implement a balanced and meaningful assessment and accountability system. We'll share more details about that in a minute. But having been a classroom teacher, one of the greatest instructional tools I had was assessment. And assessment doesn't have to be a bad thing. But we've grown to think of assessment as this test we give in the spring. And where's my friend Levin? Ed back here. She was on that commission. And one of the things that that commission felt very, very strongly about is we have got to shift the focus of assessment to something that's meaningful, that teachers use on a regular basis, day to day, week to week, month to month, so they can adjust their instruction accordingly based on the needs of their kids. And that's exactly what the state board's done. We've shifted the focus back to the classroom level. We, for the first time, purchased a formative assessment tool for every school system in the state of Alabama, should they choose to use it, so that they can monitor student learning anytime, anywhere, 24/7, 5 days a week if they want to. We're not telling them they have to. But the key part of that is if we ever want response to instruction, which from a former special ed teacher, that was just the way we taught when I was a special ed teacher. But this gives us no reason that we can't get this response to instruction in place, which would have great bearing for our special needs kids. Develop and implement a unified school readiness plan, Gary Edwards. Pre-K education. We all know that the achievement gap for our children that are born into poverty starts the day they're born, not because of anything that's wrong with their family or their situation, it just is. Because they're typically born into a not print-rich environment. We have kids, and y'all, those teachers in the room know this, kids show up in kindergarten and have never seen a book. They don't even know their real name, they just know what they've been called for the first 5 years of their life. Don't know numbers. If we really want to make a difference in closing the achievement gap for all kids, but especially those in poverty, pre-K education is where we want to move, and this is going to be a major focus for the State Department as we move forward. We worked with A+ partnership and the Business Council of Alabama to do a study to look at what it would cost in the state of Alabama to provide quality, keyword being quality, pre-K services to 4-year-olds, voluntary, assuming that there'd be about an 80% take on that. It would cost $129 million to do that. And I know that sounds like an astronomical amount of money, and it is. But we had that same group from Rutgers do an analysis of what it would cost if we didn't do it. And the measures they used were students of poverty who end up with a huge achievement gap, who eventually end up being our high school dropouts. High school dropouts are 5 times out of 10 more likely to end up in some sort of criminal activity. I've spent more time in prison since becoming state superintendent than I ever thought I would, because you find from those people there that 9 out of 10 of every prisoner in the state of Alabama is a high school dropout. 9 out of 10. So they looked at those figures and figured out how much it would cost if we didn't invest in pre-K education, and it's $2 billion ongoing. So to me, that's one of the biggest no-brainers I've ever seen, is you invest in pre-K on the front end so you're not paying forever for those same children and adults on the other end. So we're going to focus there. And then how do we align all of our programmatic and fiscal resources to support our local school systems? A big shift at our department. And my guys in the back, we have one major vocabulary word that we use on a regular basis, and that word is what? You must be nimble, because we serve children. We don't serve the Department of Education. So we have totally reorganized the department into 11 teams that are multi-dimensional, interdisciplinary, that are now going to work with our 134 school systems to develop an IEP for each school system that's going to look totally different in 134 different places based on the needs of the school system. Because we have been applying the one-size-fits-all to public education for far too long. So we may go to Hoover, and Martha may say, we need this, this, and this, and then we may go across town to Birmingham, and they say, we need this, this, and this, and we may go to Madison County, and you say, we really don't need you here, and all 3 of those are an okay answer. Because we want to have the department function just like a good special education program function, in that it meets the individual needs of our school systems, which may mean that we disrupt all the initiatives that we currently have in place and redistribute where those resources are, because we may not need 3 reading coaches in this school system, but we need 6 over here. Or we may not need X over here, but we need it over here. So I warn you, there's going to be some disruption in this, but it's disruption around meeting the needs of school systems and schools who eventually meet the needs of children. So that's why we'll do all that.